My mother was a great storyteller. She could entertain us for hours with stories. Some of them I think she just made up on the spot. Others, I'm not sure of what the origin was. I want to share with you one of my favorite stories that my mother used to tell us. I don't know what the origin of this story is. If you do, then please share it with me. But today, I'm going to share with you a story called Sammy, Sammy, the Who-Bone, the Po-Bone Sammy, told in the fashion that my mother used to tell it to us. Now, there lived a boy in a town not too far on the other side of Raleigh. Now, the boy's name was Sammy, but it didn't stop there. His name was Sammy, Sammy, but it didn't stop there. His name was Sammy, Sammy, the Who-Bone, the Po-Bone Sammy. Now, I don't know how he came about to have such a name, but that was his name. And when his mother and father would call him, they would say, Sammy, Sammy, the Who-Bone, the Po-Bone Sammy. And he would come. That was his name. Now, Sammy, Sammy, the Who-Bone, the Po-Bone Sammy's mother and father wanted him to have an education in the church. So they thought it was very important that Sammy, Sammy, the Who-Bone, the Po-Bone Sammy went to Sunday school every Sunday morning. And Sammy, Sammy, the Who-Bone, the Po-Bone Sammy did go to Sunday school every Sunday morning. But I don't know how he got the notion. I don't know what got into his mind. Because on this particular Sunday, Sammy, Sammy, the Who-Bone, the Po-Bone Sammy, decided he was not going to go to Sunday school. But he was going to tell his mama and daddy that he was going to Sunday school. But Sammy, Sammy, the Who-Bone, the Po-Bone Sammy, he was going to go fishing. So on that morning, he got up early. And he got a fishing rod and he stuck it down through the collar of his shirt. And the fishing rod ran down the side into his pant leg. Now, because the fishing rod was running beside his leg like that, he wasn't able to bend his leg. So Sammy, Sammy, the Who-Bone, the Po-Bone Sammy was walking around like a crippled man. So on that morning, his mama saw him and she said, Sammy, Sammy, what's wrong with your leg? Why are you walking around like a crippled man? And Sammy, Sammy said, oh, I've been running too much. I need to rest my legs more. And his mama said, okay, baby. When you come from Sunday school today, I will make sure that you get to rest your legs. And he said, okay, mama. And he went out the door. And he headed in the direction of the Sunday school. But he then made a sharp turn and he went right down to where the fishing lake was. When he got down to the fishing lake, he took his fishing rod out through his neck collar and pulled it out past his side up out of his leg so he could bend his leg again and he didn't have to walk like a crippled man. So he was sitting there getting ready to throw the line out into the water when all of a sudden this big fish jumped up and said, the fish said, hey, Sammy, Sammy, the Who-Bone, the Po-Bone Sammy. And Sammy was kind of startled because he had never seen a fish talking before. And then the fish said, catch me, Sammy, 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 the Who-Bone, the Po-Bone Sammy. Catch me, Sammy, 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 the Who-Bone, the Po-Bone Sammy. And so Sammy got his rod ready. He threw it out in that water and he caught him. And he reeled that fish in. And that fish said, take me home with you, Sammy. Sammy, Sammy, the Who-Bone, the Po-Bone Sammy. Take me home, Sammy, Sammy, the Who-Bone, the Po-Bone Sammy. So Sammy took the fish and he took him home. He went into the kitchen. He was all in there by himself. He opened up his bag with the fish, and the fish said, "Cook me, Sammy, Sammy, the who bone, the po bone, Sammy. Cook me, Sammy, Sammy, the who bone, the po bone, Sammy." So Sammy got out a frying pan, put a little fatback grease in there, and he put the fish in the pan, started cooking them. After a while, the fish said, "I'm done now, Sammy. Sammy, Sammy, the who bone, the po bone, Sammy. I'm done now, Sammy. Sammy, Sammy, the who bone, the po bone, Sammy." So Sammy took them out and put them on a plate. The fish looked right at Sammy. The fish said, "Eat me, Sammy, Sammy, the who bone, the po bone, Sammy. Eat me, Sammy, Sammy, the who bone, the po bone, Sammy." So Sammy started eating that fish. Sammy ate that fish, and then he could feel that fish down in his stomach. For a minute, he was wishing that maybe he hadn't eaten that fish, because then the fish jumped. While he was in his stomach, the fish jumped, and the fish said, "I'm going back now, Sammy, Sammy, Sammy. I'm going back now, Sammy, Sammy. I'm going back, Sammy, Sammy, the who bone, the po bone, Sammy." And that fish, while he was still in Sammy, Sammy, the who bone, po bone, Sammy belly, jumped up and took him with them when the fish ran back to the lake, and Sammy couldn't do anything but go, because the fish was going back, and he took Sammy, the who bone, the po bone, Sammy with them, and he jumped in the lake. And it wasn't until he had been in the lake for a while that that fish finally jumped out of him. And I tell you what, Sammy, the who bone, the po bone, Sammy, he ran back to his house, and he confessed to his mother and father. He said, "Mother and father, I have a confession." He said, "I didn't go to Sunday school today. I went fishing instead. When you thought I was walking around like a crippled man, it was because I had the rod down my collar, running down my side into my pant leg, and I couldn't bend my leg. And that's why I was walking like a crippled man." And I tell you what, Sammy, the who bone, the po bone, Sammy, he never went fishing again on a Sunday when he should have been in Sunday school. Sammy, the who bone, the po bone, Sammy, he went to church and Sunday school every Sunday after that. And I'll tell you what, Sammy, the who bone, the po bone, Sammy, he grew up to be a mighty fine preacher man, preaching in his own church, and preaching to the little kids about how important it is to go to Sunday school every Sunday and never, never, never go fishing on a Sunday when you're supposed to be in Sunday school.